Recap. My name is Alaith, a very humble man, and a once-in-a-generation solo developer. For the last 3.5 years, I've been working on my dream game project. A VR RPG title that will not only blow your mind, but one day, with enough patches and bug fixes, and after bribing some game critics, it will live to be a masterpiece. In a previous episode, I showcased a proof of concept for the level I was working on. I also announced the launch of the anticipated Kickstarter campaign, which ended up not succeeding. So where we go from here? What are the new updates? These questions will be answered in this new episode of Sword Islands. Nice, my dumbass forgot which color it is. Was it light or was it dark? We got this one, let's hope the color matches. Let's go. I'm not going to lie to you, the failure of the Kickstarter campaign was the last nail in the coffin for my previous plan. The whole idea of pursuing game development as a full-time job is just not sustainable. To me, it was always a 9-to-5 versus chasing dreams, but now that I really think about it, why not both? A software developer part-time job while running my wild projects on the side, it's kinda starting to sound like the new plan. Let's start slow. I made some important changes to the blade arts, specifically regarding projectile skills. Instead of limiting the number of projectiles based on time, I now set limits based on damage points. For example, some skills allow you to throw 6 projectiles, others might let you throw 3. For the more powerful skills, you'll be limited to a single projectile, meaning you'll need to aim carefully to make it count. Additionally, I added a quick sound effect to the thrusting blade art, making it a bit more satisfying to activate. Moving away from that, I've been thinking about how gadgets like fishing rods and other tools should be introduced. To make it easier, I've added a sub-panel in the menu where you can spawn gadgets. You will also be able to unlock more gadgets in the future, like a mini telescope, a camera, or a compass. By the way, I'm really curious to hear some of your ideas about what kind of gadgets we can add to the game, so feel free to share them in the comments. And just like the armaments, I ensured that they can't get lost by making them respawnable, where the previous instance will get destroyed and a new instance will appear, which is really handy. You can also store the gadgets by holding them to your back or hips, just like the other items in the inventory. One of the other things I worked on was the optimization of enemies. To improve performance, I've optimized the way enemies are handled using 3 techniques. Starting with mesh optimizations. Skin meshes are more resource intensive, so I've reduced the number of meshes per character by combining multiple objects into a single mesh. This reduces draw calls and boosts performance. The second technique is making a custom LOD system. I created a custom LOD system for enemy groups. The system checks the distance between the player and the enemy groups, making them visible only when the player is within range. If the player moves out of the range, the enemies will simply disappear, reducing the background calculations when the player is not looking or when he's not in the same area as the enemies. The third technique is kind of funny because it's built in with the Unity, but I never thought that this is a thing, which is animation culling. Imagine it as if the enemies are T-posing when you're not looking, which is also good for boosting performance because performing animations will cost more calculations on the skin meshes. Speaking of boosting performance, if you stick to the end of the episode, I will showcase the new cool tool that I've been developing to boost my environment design and make it less of a hassle, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Welcome to to the announcement section. I don't have many announcements, but first of all, I would like to thank every single person who actually backed the Kickstarter campaign. Seeing that number going from like 0 to 3K, I think in 2 hours it happened, or I don't know, a day, I can't remember, but I felt like for the first time that I actually have a small community going on, which is such a cool feeling. Also, of course, thanks to all of the people who are still helping me out with Patreon. I need to also like kind of plan my monetization plan, because I still don't even know if Sword Islands will be like early access, or if I want to do a beta, or if I want to do an alpha or a demo, you know? So all of these things, I have to kind of figure them out, make a roadmap, and hopefully by the next episode it's ready and I can announce like the movement forward and when to expect a build, such things. Even the Patreon itself will kind of change to match that monetization plan. We'll see what happens. And of course, you can always subscribe to this channel and write feedback in the comments. I read all of them. I reply to most of them most of the time, so I can catch you there. Of course, join our Discord too. You can literally ask whatever you want there. Beside, is this game coming for Quest? Or what was the other question? What was it? Yeah, when does the game come out? I don't know. The answer to that, I don't know. But anyway, I think enough yapping for now. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Another update is the introduction of SyncPoints, which act like checkpoints or bonfires. These SyncPoints are designed to provide a sense of relief when you encounter them, which is kinda indicated by the golden particles and the whole like golden aura. Activating them is very simple. Just walk to the sync blade in the center, drag it out, and watch the particles turn blue. When they are activated, your stats will be saved, and obviously your stats will also reset every time you enter a sync point. So your HP, focus, and stamina will be back to the max value. And also, if you got desynced by, I don't know, jumping off of a cliff, unlike real life, you will spawn back at the sync point. However, your data will be missing, and to get them back, you will have to go to the spot where you died and interact with them. Another important detail to mention is how the color indicates the state of the sync point. As we discussed earlier, the golden color represents the inactive sync point. Once activated, the color changes to blue. And you'll also notice floating particles around it. These particles indicate the selected sync point, where you'll respawn. For example, if you unlock a new sync point, the particles will be disabled on the previous one and activate on the new one. This means that if you lose, you will respawn at the latest sync point you activated. However, if you want to return to the earlier sync point, simply walk into it and you'll see the particles shift back to indicate it is the active one. So now if I jump, I should technically respawn at the first point. And there we go. Now, another cool thing about the sync points is if you normally open the menu, you would get to see your stats. However, if you open it inside the sync point, you'll see a new tab appears. And clicking on it will allow you to level up, basically putting the data you collected into your attributes, like we discussed in a previous episode. And if that isn't enough, take a little look at the health, focus, and stamina bars. More precisely, the length to which the bars extend. Because if you open the menu and put some points into the health and stamina, for example, then click the level up button, which still lacks a sound effect sadly, you can see that the length of the bars is actually dynamic, and it changes according to the amount of health and stamina you have. Now you can level up again, for example, and see it going even more. Obviously, at a certain level it will stop extending. I don't want it to cover up the whole screen, but I thought this is a cool implementation to make you feel that aura of the progress you're achieving. Now that you've made it to the end of the episode, let's dive into the spline scatter tool I've been working on. So to set it up, you need to have multiple points in the scene, and when you move one of these points, you will see cubes spawning along the path that you made. You can then adjust the size and density of these cubes, and you can also assign different prefabs to scatter, tweaking various settings like minimum and maximum scale, the min and the max rotation, the y-axis position or offset, and of course the probability of spawning. After setting your preferences, just hit spawn, and your prefabs will appear. Now if you move the points around to create a larger shape and hit spawn again, you will see that the prefabs got distributed along the spline. Of course, after spawning them, you can also further adjust the values and then spawn them again to refine the result. The real power of this tool shines when you enable real-time updates. This feature will let you set a refresh rate in which the updates will happen, and then you can watch the magic happen in real time as you drag the points around. The tool would be a huge time saver. When I made the level, for example, that I showcased in the previous episode, the most time consuming part was manually aligning rocks and cliffs with every single terrain height difference. But with this tool, that process now just takes a fraction of that time. Now, here is a quick result to show you what I mean. Really glad I took the time to build this because it's going to make environment design much less tedious. Now, I know that most Unreal Engine users are laughing right now because such tools exist by default in their engine, but yeah, it's kind of too late for the regret to settle in, so just add the L to the rest of the pile and move on. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Sorry for this episode being a bit more technical, because not everything in game development is clickbait worthy. I made a sword and it broke my entire game. Foreshadowing? Anyway, if you had any opinions, leave them to yourself. Write them down in the comments. I read most of them. Can't wait to reply to a couple of them. And yeah, subscribe to the channel for more. And I'll see you guys soon. Maybe in a month, 2, 3, 4, a year. We'll see. Peace out.